Okay. Hello, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. All right. All right. It is Sunday today. And I am not Christian. I am a Muslim sci-fi writer. But aside from that, before writing sci-fi, I was a human being who in 2014 started this Mr.Within saga of attempting to give 10,000 lectures in a lifetime. I was dedicated to this, and I just, the type of mind I have, I kind of need to see it through. So anyways, this episode is interesting, mainly because I am going to speak about a new concept I have created. There is a term I use personally. I haven't vocalized this aside from inside my sci-fi. But I've written here, guided by grace towards ADVANCIA. And ADVANCIA, I don't know why, but there was something so beautiful about that word. There's something about that word that feels familiar. I'm that human being that for some reason has an incredible nostalgia for the future. Believe it or not, human beings, I gave a talk on this years ago, that human beings are living in different phases of history, even though we're all in 2024. My God. Guys, what's incredible about life is that regardless of whatever you do, we are experiencing living and dying at the same time. First of all, I want to acknowledge that as I'm giving this talk right now, I acknowledge the presence of the Creator. I acknowledge that the presence of the Creator is watching all of us. I acknowledge that the Creator is beyond worldly conditional form. And events happen for people in accordance to what they are capable of. You might not believe this. I see it everywhere. You know, I'm this human being saying we're inside an existential system. This existential system has a system admin. So anyways, we have around an hour or so for me to explain all these ideas here. Whoever you are, settle down. I know I'm not a certified teacher, but I'm not teaching. I am reporting. I am bringing feedback to my species. You know, just like all the bees brought nectar to the hive, similarly, Mr. Within is, as a human being, part of this human species, based on the dimensions to my being I see, I am trying to fulfill my duty. I'm trying to fulfill my tasks before I exit. You know, if somebody says, Mr. Within, have you, whoever you are, have you fallen in love with the world? Have you fallen in love with anything here? And I would say I have fallen in love with the realization that complex layers being constantly added to the moment do not solve the moment, you know? It's like rewriting the problem in a bunch of ways doesn't in some sense solve the problem. My capability is simply this, that the feedback I have is 32 years of life on this earth. If somebody wanted to know what 32 years of life could be like, I've experienced that. Okay? Now, right now, whoever you are listening, I check the analytics of my lectures. The demographics are pretty much starting from people who are like in their mid-20s. And then it goes up to like 450s or something. Listen, guys, I have made a conclusion. I have looked at this life, I have looked at different human beings, the ways they have lived, and I have come with a conclusion, overall conclusion. I have concluded it, but I have also stepped forward in my conclusion. That means I'm speaking post my conclusion, right? So I don't know, you know, how many people the creator will get this lecture in front of. I don't know how many people will hear my voice. You know, I just hope it's not some weird Van Gogh situation, you know. You know, sometimes I have this, it's like, it's not my belief, but it's a theory. It's something that I entertained at some point, where I was like, if I've done the right thing, the results should be evident now. And when I say when I've done the right thing, it's the activity on the levels of being. So what that means is not a physical thing. That means if my mindset is correct, then the moment should be better. You know, guys, I am not a creature of language. You're not going to believe this. I'm not an idea to myself. It's more like I've been like a column of presence. I've been present. I've been presented in manifestation. And it's so strange because life is equivalent to opening your eyes and literally being like, what's going on? You want to become a great human being? Well, guess what? You got to figure out what's going on. What greater motivation for knowledge do you need? We don't know what's going on. It's storytelling. It's massive language games. Right now, you know, if there was higher intelligence watching us, which there is, it would be like, oh my God, look at these organisms on this rock spinning in the middle of this infinitude of landscape. Like, look at these organisms. They've become tired of their old ways. What I'm trying to say is that we like, see, like, what can I do? I'm a human being. I'm part of a species. I'm in a world. This world goes into the future. So whatever we choose, whether we choose to act or not, whatever, it goes forth anyways. Okay, just to clear up the title, because I feel like I'm going on a different tangent here. The title, Guided by Grace Towards ADVANCIA. ADVANCIA is a term among the many terms created by Mr. Within, which can be found in these lectures of mine, which are the efforts of my lifetime. ADVANCIA is a term suggesting the most advanced state of civilization. It is the heaven on earth that if we can align to the system admin, we enter the realm where we have a connection to the uncontrollable. You know, people act like they're intelligent and constantly saying, empty room, it's emptiness, emptiness, emptiness. There has never been anything such as emptiness. Because who can notice the emptiness? Emptiness has no viewer, the true emptiness. So it's never empty. Wonder again. What is going on this planet? And I'm getting emotional because you don't understand what I'm seeing in my inner realms and how I'm simplifying it to myself in the outer realms. It's like, imagine an ant on an anthill. Suddenly one day is passing over and here's a conversation of a bunch of politicians. This ant that is passing this lunch table or something. And the ant suddenly understands the conversation of the politicians. And then it tries to be an ant after having this vision of what it means to have human understanding. It breaks. It breaks. What do I mean by this? Oh man, sorry guys, pulling myself together. Okay, so here's the thing. Why did I get emotional? Because I got closer to my soul. Or in some sense, I noticed the truth of what stands where we stand. You see, I am not a prophet. I am not someone who has received revelation. And it took me a while to stop worshiping the world, to stop worshiping others, and to stop worshiping the self. To stop worshiping myself. And the only point, that means imagine you ran in a hall of mirrors and you ran fast because you were overwhelmed by the position. And your head hit the first mirror. It was the self you worshipped. Then the second mirror, the others you worshipped. The others you tried to be like. You see, I am someone who that might terrify at the same time as I fascinate the old world. It's like a Windows 98 computer at the speed of light, like, you know, moving through outer space. Do you know? So 8 billion organisms on a rock spinning in the middle of nowhere, wondering about what sort of intelligent interaction could take place, realizing that we have access to an inner sight in the boundaries of fiction, way more able to move, and we have in some sense our outer sight in the realm of non-fiction. And to be honest, it's all fiction and it's all simulation-like because it changes. It's not static. It's only static to us because we're changing quicker than the world. Do you understand? We're changing quicker than the environment. We are moving in the environment. It's as if we are so intelligent. The soul is such a masterful design. Also the secret of the creator, the created. The essence of the creator. Pretty much consciousness appears, you access the conscious waking state, you access the saved memory, the saved data of yesterday, and it's all refreshed in accordance to the new the new viewing experience that you're having now. So what it is we are on some level a sort of code that that we at first think reprograms itself and is being reprogrammed by others, but in actuality it's a constant program update. That means the reason we can't define the mind, because in its dynamism it is an act of change. That means the observer of change is not changing in that instant. This makes us wonder about the position of our attention. Now, 8 billion organisms guided by grace towards ADVANCIA, ADVANCIA being the optimal consideration of reality, ADVANCIA in some sense being how advanced the potential of 8 billion organisms would be. So to me, I'm saying, all right, guys, there's so many things that are occupying our attention. Stuff that's going on with yourself, stuff that's going on with others, like celebrity, important people, da-da-da-da-da, and stuff that's going on in the world, like actual human events that take place, like important events, right? But in the midst of all these things that take the human attention, one has to consider that how is meaning extracted from a changing system? Because they're all telling us have a purpose in life, have in some sense a directive, a sort of meaning, but in some sense it's a changing system. So in some sense, how do you stand still on water? And few have been known to do that, you know. To be able to recognize that the relationship of that which is created. You see, from one angle, yes, you are a creative force. You go in the realm and you change factors. There's constructive factors, destructive factors. Pretty much you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide reality. You know, that's pretty much what's going on. It's a sort of basic arithmetic for now, right? Because we are limited to the individual, and the individual is limited to a unit, a position. So I'm that human being saying, hey, 8 billion other human beings on this rock, you know, in a place where we freaked out because it was so massive. You know, when I say massive activity in the unknown, what is that? That is everything happening. We are part of a system which gives us a responsibility for that part of the system. To be honest, it's kind of like you behave in accordance to the room you're in. So if you're in a library, it's in accordance to that room. If you're in a bank, it's in accordance to that room. If you're on stage in accordance, it's in accordance to that room. You know, the Japanese say the man is the room he's in. So what that means is there is physically a body that is going from room to room, but there's also a mind that in its viewpoints, in all the angles that it can see reality, fathoms a room. So you can say that there's a room. Let's say I physically enter a room, right? So that's one room I entered, but then what does that room mean? What does the content of that space imply? That's another room formulating in the inner realms. And so when I'm saying that you're a creature of fiction and non-fiction, it's in some sense saying that the body is non-fiction, right? But the mind seems to be fiction. But if we say why is the mind fiction, it's because the mind is changing quickly. The body, we're saying non-fiction because it's changing slower, but the body is changing as well. It's different paces. So what I'm saying is reality, what we have planted, the flag of reality is unreal. That means, ladies and gentlemen, wake up. The concept reality is unreal. Okay? And why is it unreal? Because there is more than reality. What does that mean? That means it's as if like, yo, you finished an exam, let's say a math exam, and then you're like, yo, what happened to my grades? And you realize there was a page you missed. There was a page you never realized was there. Whose fault is that? The teachers or the students? The creators or the creations? The creator does not make a mistake simply because a mistake is an attribute given to a worldly entity. The creator that humanity is truly acknowledging is a creator beyond form. What does that mean, a creator beyond form? to understand what's going on. You know, they say a human being has their books in order. You know, similarly, it's as if, how do we have our books in order? There's a lot of mismanaged, misallocated, mispositioned talent, value. That means if somebody was like, yo, Mr. Within, how do you think the advanced civilization is going to be built? I'll be like, of course, I have different views based on when you had asked me that question. But now I would say it's pretty much we're waiting for the blessing, the blessed decree. We're waiting for authorization. It doesn't matter how much you think you're spiritual or not. The species is waiting for divine decree. But we are also waiting for that which is happening as we are happening. So the divine decree could have happened in the sense that we are it happening. So we are from one angle, a human being being tested from another angle. Everything is God's command. You see? It doesn't matter how inferior you are. You know, I was entertaining an inferiority complex. I think it was yesterday, or maybe earlier today. I don't know what it was. And let me tell you what I mean by entertaining an inferiority complex. That means my mind became fascinated to be like, how small can I be? What if right now I have attempted to fathom the most advanced? I have tried to, my mind has flew to ADVANCIA. But in some sense, what would be the opposite of that? And when I fathom that, it would be as if, okay, let me see how low a being can go. And this was just hypothetical, like, you know, just thought work to some degree. So my attention started to consider that in the outer realms, I'm in a fixed position, biological human being. But in my inner realms, there is a staircase of viewpoints. And I wondered about the viewpoint. That what if I suddenly made a mistake and I did something so, like, you know, what if I just imagined the worst version of me? Not evil version of me, because that version of me is stupid. It's just, evil is stupid. That's my conclusion. It's just stupid, right? Because it's like, why reduce something that is in emptiness out of nowhere back into emptiness, you know? I wondered, you know, I saw versions of myself as if I was seeing, like, through different lenses, like a cameraman, right? And so I began seeing versions of myself deteriorating. What if I became suddenly a cruel person? What if I became completely oblivious, ignorant, completely abandoned reality? You know, like, people stopped caring. You know, I fathomed all these versions. I fathomed even, like, in some sense, being reduced by people. You know, there was this thing, it brought tears to my eyes, but evidently, there was this article that was saying I don't know where it was, I think it was in Paris or somewhere, I don't know. Somewhere where art is, you know, flourishing. And so anyways, there was this very, like, you know, kind of bizarre artist, that this woman who just went and stood somewhere in an art gallery, and she put, like, knives, a gun, I don't know, some stuff, like, you know, and she just stood there, right? And she was the artist, and she's like, she gave full permission and legal rights for people to degrade her. And people started writing things on her. At first they were shy, but then they started carving things, like they started acting like demonic and animals, right? And then at the end of it, when the time finished, the girl wasn't moving, the artist wasn't moving at all. At the end, she's like, this is proof that the crowd will kill you if you let them. Sorry, dear viewer, as every orator has known in history, you are a beloved member of our species, and I honor you as if my grandchildren, if I have, will one day walk alongside yours. But in order to go towards ADVANCIA, we cannot get rid of evil, but we can, just like how to the Titans were shackled, shackle it to cyberspace. So I saw as if I suddenly, I'm not that much of a social guy anyways. But in reality, I was thinking as if if what suddenly I fell. I fathomed that. And you know what happened? It came to a moment where I had accepted the inferior. Honest to God, I have no idea how these talks will serve mankind. But what has inspired me has been my responsibility for the future of life. You see, the past is an image. The present is a location. And the future is how the images of our past interact with the location of our present, and then are witnessed by a soul that stands in a way in this world that is a secret of God. That means because you did not create yourself, the mystery of your eyes is not just for yourself to know. Be as spiritual as you want. You reach a peak, once you reach the summit of the mountain of spirituality, you will realize the wisdom. In the mercy of God. You see, it's like they've made you think that by being an individual you can completely handle a collective system. But it is not the case. We have the potential of living you might not believe it, but there is a huge chance that my new book that's coming out, that I'm working on, it's like this giant building I'm designing. I have tried to share the variations of the visions of reality I have seen to my capability. And I will tell you, as someone who inspires himself by visualizing that the species is like an army and we're all soldiers, and as the soldiers, I've suddenly noticed the system admin God, run ahead. What that means is we have animated in the presence of a designer. We have a designer. That means, this might sound bizarre, but like, you know how products are made in China? The soul is made in God, heaven. It's as if the soul is manufactured in a heavenly state, from a heavenly caliber, being very close to God, but it made a mistake and it has been distanced from God. And what is God? The original power of the realm. Wake up, folks. It could be a freaking simulation. If it's a simulation, it means the truth has to exist in order for the simulation to be a simulation of something. So we need the truth is pre, and the simulation is post. Anybody who believes that life is a simulation believes in God. Because God is the uncaused that caused causality. You know, life at first feels, you know, like normal, and then it becomes surreal when you see you want it to be normal. Once the expectations of the past, like once the yesterday's saved memory file like doesn't impose on today's memory file but is accessible and viewable, that means it's readable but it doesn't need to be editable. The secular society, anybody who's secular, you're going to realize God is just another way of saying system admin. There is one and only, and the system admin is beyond the system. The system admin, let's say there is the potential of its presence in the system because God can do whatever it wants by its own decree. God can even choose to, you know, show truth to anyone, right? But it doesn't mean the person can claim the truth. It's like someone who's climbed Mount Everest and somebody goes up to him and it's like, oh my God, are you the greatest person who's ever climbed Mount Everest? And the person's like, I don't know. But I've climbed Mount Everest though. I've attempted to wonder about this world, like, you know, something the teachers gave up. The teachers were like, all right, kids, you graduated from university. Now get lost. You know, like that's the attitude of the educational system. The educational system is literally like, no offense guys, but it's literally like an incredible mafia movie. It's like, hey, you know, it's honestly like, this is a ridiculous thing to say, but Jay Leno shared something in one of his videos, like it was on, like I don't know what it was, but it was like this interview online of Jay Leno where he was saying he was working in this comedy club in the States, and like this guy comes up to him and he's like, kid, you're really funny, here's $500. And that was a lot of money back then. And he was so smart, Jay Leno was so smart that he's like, no thank you, I can't take it, I can't possibly take it, right? And he refused it. And then one of his friends asked, why did you refuse it? He's like, because that guy was from the mafia, and if I had accepted that favor, then I'd owe a favor. Do you see what I'm saying? It's pretty gangsta. You know, that means the educational system is reflecting human nature, guys. We can't be too like, you know, upset about it. You know, we just need to realize human nature has a capability to function. You see, the test of man is control. I will tell you a story because maybe I'm one of the few people who can say this in this moment. So I am Muslim now, but there was a time where religion was more in the sidelines. and I was just seeking spirituality, and I hadn't understood spirituality was a sophisticated form of self-worship. But the idol, the object of worship was the self, the potential of its future. You know, I'm telling you, I think in a period of less than 100 years, even less than 50 years, we're gonna bring back robes, guys. People are gonna wear robes. And are you gonna be like, people are gonna be like, Mr. Within, what do you mean robes? And I'd be like, no, guys, go on ChatGPT and search, type in ChatGPT 4 and go in and search, you know, create a futuristic fashion of people, you know, in the future, and you'll see it's layers of advanced robes, and between each robes is like endless pockets. Do you understand? And it's also good for people who are, in some sense, they don't, like, they're in a hurry. Do you know what I mean? You don't have time to, like, you know, adjust every factor of, like, you know. It's like you can't check the engine of the car every time before you know, have to use it. Right? Do you know what I mean? AI is gonna literally, like, make fashion designers be like, yo, man, you guys are unneeded. I'm kidding, guys. The world is never just one man's story. So, guided by grace towards ADVANCIA. ADVANCIA being the most advanced expression of the human being from a secular perspective. Now, simultaneously, it's a theological setting because there's a system admin and the idea of basing a global civilization under the notion that we are members, higher beings, or mods, like angels or deities in some traditions they consider. And believe it or not, there is lower beings too, which they are considered as noobs. Why? Because noobs are given to desire. Noobs is a video game term, and to be honest, I'm not someone who, like, knows a lot about video games, but I just you know, play the video game League of Legends, and I play Zerath mid lane, AP, and I have this, like, you know, unique strategy that just got me up to the gold rank, and I would play this game constantly because at the end of the day it was like meditation. I would just like the sound it would make, but also the amount of complexity it had of chess. So in chess, your pieces don't have free will, but in this game your teammates have free will. Trying to build a Mr. Within video game community might be an interesting idea. I don't know how to do that, and I don't have time, actually, but maybe. So anyways, guys, let's keep going. Now, the metaphor I want to use to kind of explain how I'm seeing it is that I said, imagine like you know, Lord of the Rings in the third movie, like at the end of it, like, you know, they're all it's like the last stand of mankind against, like, freaks, right? And excuse my language, guys, everything is God's creation. There's a majesty to the fact that we're even designed beings. It's like we're a masterpiece, but we're in pieces until we master the piece. P-E-A-C-E. And God is the only masterpiece. The masterpiece. The master of peace. So pretty much in that scene in Lord of the Rings, Return of the Kings, great name. If I have a social circle reunion, you know, that would be it. Anyways, guys, where I'm going with this is wondering about the most advanced possibility in the show, in that scene in Lord of the Rings. The army's there, then suddenly, the king is like, I don't know, he says for the guy who's gonna get rid of all of our problems, and he runs towards, and then the army also follows that soldier, right? Follows that warrior. So the notion is that when I'm giving these talks talking about the advanced civilization at a time where humanity is worshiping itself, like there was object worship, subject worship, now it's self worship as a form of subject, but Mr. Within, and the friends, which are, let's say, the benevolence and of divine decree through human form. It's like we're shifting that. My strategy has always been that in order for me to fascinate the audience, I must be capable of fascinating myself. To fascinate myself, I have to contact the unknown. To contact the unknown, I cannot be known. If I am not known, then who am I? If I am not a who, what am I controlling? Then the position of conscious attention is no longer in a domain of control. Then the person's like, wait a minute, are you telling me this whole time I've tried to be this individual human being solving all my problems, but it's actually been something that's been happening? Have I been swimming in the same direction that the river has been going? If you're blessed, divine grace makes you conscious of the river, and then you realize why praise is important. Like, people take a shower, every morning they wake up, they don't in some sense consider that you have to acknowledge the system admin. You go to work every day saying hi. Let's say somebody works at a coffee shop, right? And every day they're saying hi to like hundreds of people, right? But do you wake up in the morning and are like, oh my God, I'm a created being inside an existential system, and there's uncontrollable, unknown variables of the system, and the body is limited and temporary like a candle in a dark room, and my mind has access to infinite perceptions, and it gets bored and doesn't know which to select, and so the soul is there watching, wondering what to identify in the bizarreness of it all. And in this instant, the individual realizes that it is to care. If you truly care for yourself, you're caring for your design. If you care for your design, you're creating for that. You care for that which created your design. If you care for that which created your design, you're caring for that which was beyond the world. If you're caring for that which was beyond the world, you're caring for that which created the world. If you contact in the beginning of the day or in any moment, this is why by saying God's name, it's literally like suddenly lighting a candle in a dark room, or bringing light in the darkness, whether we saw the darkness or not. You see, there is a darkness we can see, and there is a darkness that is not a darkness relevant to the biological eyes. It is the deterioration of the collective moral nature of mankind, which must be protected. And it must be protected by first faith that, all right, the big guys got it. Now, we as the small guy, what do we do? Serve your world while you're in it, goddamn. What legacy are we all leaving behind? Who is satisfied? That means there is like, there are people, they say people with high standards, okay? Let's look at the high standards of humanity. We have high standards. We're fighting over resources. Child's play. Sci-fi writers have written of advanced civilizations, and world leaders are fighting over, who's tougher. It's as if it's civilization jackals acting like lions. Or do the lions actually need to roar? You see, guys, I understand that there are powerful beings. There are stronger beings. But I do not fear you because it's illogical. I fear the mightiest. What is the mightiest? The mightiest is the source of grace. That means there is a fear of doing evil or being in an evil situation. And then there is a fear of being worthy for superior grace. I have felt a fear of the Creator, not in a bad way, in a way where I am afraid because I am unworthy. It's like a candle that's running in infinity. And it's like, what am I illuminating? God is in some sense the system admin. God has no fear. And we don't. God is love. What is love? Love is an ability in an infinitely changing world to care beyond how it's changing. That is love. It is pure connection. But but it depends on how you see yourself. You know, there are people who could be living great lives in the outer realms. That means in front of their eyes, they're like great people of great status, of great might. And then the moment they're in private, let's say, looking in alone, you know, at a bathroom mirror, kind of overwhelmed by everything that they are going through. All you can do in that moment is to just be fascinated to see what has been decreed for you. It's like, okay, I don't even, forget what I want. I would like to see what I deserved and what I didn't. And how ignorant I was, you know. Because if you don't understand the results of the test, why you took it is meaningless. Beyond death for a Muslim, our attention is going to a domain of consideration of why the events were taking place. And of course, God knows. Go directly to God. I am not a moderator. I'm just another member talking. You see, pretty much there's so many ways that we can advance, and as a human being limited as just organisms that appear to be limited by the imaginable, for me, I realized the advancement of the civilization requires an unimaginable power. That means think of me as if this person, like, yo, you want to advance civilization in a lifetime? Get out of here and stop worshiping yourself, kid. It was as if it was as if that's what I felt everything was saying to me. But a part of me was like, okay, then at least maybe I was impure, maybe I did the wrong thing, maybe I pressed the wrong note, you know? Maybe I misspoke, whatever, but what can I do now that I have descended in rank? I can try to at least comprehend what would be the power that builds the advanced civilization, right? It's as if they're like, You weren't born, you know, as the child of, like, you know, the leaders of the greatest nations, you know. You were born in some sense as sight in the world. So in reality, I don't know. I'm telling you my hypothesis. We need to be guided by grace, because the system, there is an intelligence to how the system is being administered. I have seen this. Go scope your memories, go scan your own memories, like close your eyes and scan your memories, and you'll notice all the unique moments. From one angle, luck, karma. From another angle, God's watching over it all. It's like, buddy, it has an admin. An admin's managing it. But it's managed by just the mere intent. That means, what are the options really? You're either on a rock in the middle of nowhere and mankind just self-simulated everything that's meaningful, or you are not just in an empty room, you're not just on a rock in the middle of nowhere, you're on a rock inside a system that is being administered. And one thing we know for sure, at least as a Muslim, is that in the sentence, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, all praise due to the Lord of the worlds, plural. That means, that is proof there is worlds. There are many worlds. It's not just this world. To us, it can be seen as just this world, but there's a Lord to the worlds, to all worlds. Whether it's the world of an ant, whether it's in some sense the world of, in some sense, like a human being, the world of an angel, the world of whatever. So many things. When I wrote in the subtitle, massive activity in the unknown, it's as if like seeing somebody scuba diving and a giant whale just passes beside them, right? To me, seeing everyday human beings just moving around. It could be like just walking into a shopping mall and being like, wow, look at how many types of intelligence are just centered around one region, right? Back in the day, to get people to gather around was like a battle. To be honest, right now, I blame myself. We're living at a time where it's easier than ever to do anything. Yet, there is also divine decree, so perhaps it's meant to have come this way. Anyways, guys, what else can I say? ADVANCIA. Dear listeners, acknowledge the system admin, acknowledge how fascinating the system is, acknowledge the opportunity to coexist, acknowledge the opportunity to serve, acknowledge the realization that every being has a unique DNA, and at the same time, normality is like a membership program. But aside from that, the moment you open your eyes as a soul, embodied a soul, you are in some sense being given a value proposition. So the test is happening the moment your eyes are open, right? So when your eyes are open, what are you being tested on? The answer is, what are we controlled? So what are the answers? So we have free will. So we're being tested on how we use whatever we are. Now, the importance of it is, what boundaries do we consider? What sophistication of structure do we consider? How can we ascend mankind towards a moral nature that we are free from lower self misery? And what that lower self misery is, that it can act as evil and powerful as it wants, but because it's done something wrong, it's unauthorized to go forth. So the conduct has to change. My advice is, if you're a soul in this world on earth, do not worship any worldly form. That is the greatest way, the fastest way to better things. I'm telling you. This is called shirk. I'm someone who committed this sin. And by the grace of God, I somehow snapped out of the self-worship that was destroying me. Who knew trying to be yourself can destroy you? Did you know that? It's your expectations, the sophistication of your mind. That means, imagine you're someone who's like, 6 hours out of the day you're in constant battle, and you've been doing this for 10 years, and you've mastered the sword. You've mastered even instances and battle scenarios. As someone who considered the species to be advanced communicators, I have come to realize going directly to the system admin is the most advanced communication. If you cannot communicate or contact the system admin, then you're not the most advanced communicator. Now, I'm not saying we have to be the most advanced communicator, but I'm saying just consider it, guys. Did you know there's a concept called divine hygiene? You know what divine hygiene means? It means you realize you did not create this world and all the other souls in it. You have to respect their positions. Like your own, like imagine there's a chess game and the pawns on the same color start attacking each other. Impossible. The game doesn't even make sense when that happens. You will see me speak more about ADVANCIA, but it's all based on the divine decree. And if somebody says, Mr.Within, do you love the world? Do you love others? Do you love yourself? And I will tell you, by loving God, I have done all. Because on some level, since the soul is the secret of God, and I'm a soul and you're a soul, technically I can never know what I am, and you can never know what you are, but we are playing roles as beings in like two levels of change. And it's kind of like the world is a candle flame, but it's like a giant candle flame, right? This giant candle flame, and on this giant candle flame there's 8 billion smaller candle flames, right? So technically the light goes out, and from a theological stance, it would be, in some sense, all started from the uncaused and all will return to the uncaused. All started from the one and only God beyond form, worldly form. And the way we contact God, the way the lower self, like if you're in the lower earth, like how you contact it is through repentance. If you're in the higher earth, let's say you're in the higher world, you've lived as an ethical person, it's through gratefulness and praise of fascination. That means, wow, I can speak to the species in cyberspace. Wow, I'm the first human being out of my ancestry to create a position. It's as if my DNA managed to, reach a checkpoint of cyberspace. The cool thing is, the difference is that this world has an owner. Just like you own, let's say, assets, items, you know. And just like how, you know, you go into someone's house, that it's like their house, you can't act like it's your own house. Similarly, the thing is, by being egotistical and worshiping ourselves, we're kind of like acting as if the world is our own house. It's like, yo man, I say what happens, you know. But that's ignorance. So it's kind of realizing, all right, so we have to have the patience, which translates into faith. You see, what's more what's more advanced? You just being on a rock in the middle of nowhere and constantly having changing simulations of a body, of your body and mind, or you realizing that there is a soul, and prayer is actually an activity of the soul. It's like, imagine you're at somebody's like has a party and is invited, and you're one of the guests, and you suddenly are like, yo man, you know, I want to go, like, you know, go nap right now. It's like the person's gonna be like, you kidding me, bro? Get out of here, son. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. May God forgive humanity. May humanity have graceful passage towards ADVANCIA, which is just another way of saying the most advanced performance of mankind. Because we are created by the greatest. You might think you're not great, but you were designed by the greatest. Your soul was created by the uncaused. You are not from this world, yet you're in it. And it's like an actor on stage suddenly realizing he's an actor and the actor's freaking out. It's like, yo man, this isn't who I am. And the director's like, yo, and the assistant directors are like, you know, people are like, yo, chill bro, let's just film this, you know, burn in daylight, you know. So may God forgive mankind, bless us, and may mankind realize it is impossible to forget the Creator, because we're fascinated by the creative movement and the decree that moves it every day, pretty much. It's fascinating. It's like an intelligent system rather than an empty one. And to truly have a relationship with the system admin, it's like it's your inner life that nobody else can see, only you can see, having a relationship with that, with the original power of the realm, the Lord of the worlds. So anyways, thank you for listening. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. May God guide me towards the straight path. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Just the majesty, that there is a position beyond it all that all knows. It brings a smile to me as a human being, as a human, to just know that the presence of the admin, it's here. And it's beautiful. May the greatness of mankind be revealed. The most advanced. I would like this. You might be like, who are you, Mr. Within? I'd be like, I am a human being that have higher standards excuse me, that have higher expectations for the future, because I tried to run towards that which until I reached the edge of the unfathomable. So once you've played the games of the body and played the games of the mind, the soul just wants truth. The beauty of God beyond death. A truth that no simulation could eclipse. A moment of praise for all that accompanied itself. Thank you.